everybody, welcome back to UTeM TV. I am KNK, and joining me today is a very special guest, Mr. Nahvin Muthusamy from MPP. Just a brief introduction. So, Mr. Nahvin here is actually the NYDP 3 of the MPP. So today, he has joined me today to actually talk a bit about MPP, and it's going to be quite an unscripted interview. So yeah, hope you guys actually enjoy this interview. So yeah, hi Mr. Nahvin.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, man. How are you?
I'm very good as well.
Actually, I would like to say thank you to actually joining us after our invitation actually. So, Mr. Nahvin, I'll just start from a basic question. MPP, known as the student representative, right?
Yeah.
How did you first knew about MPP, and what actually made you want to become an MPP?
Well, my first exposure was through something that everybody goes through, which is MHS. Minggu Haluan Siswa.
Yeah.
So during the time, I believe when we entered, and even now, MPP they have their own allocated space for them to give a speech or do any gimmicks or whatever. So that was my first exposure to know something like MPP exists. I was from matriculation, and something similar exists in matriculation that goes by JPP, Jawatan Kuasa Perwakilan Pelajar.
Right.
So here the difference is that it is a majlis. So I got to know from that. Then to answer your second question, what made me to come here is that I've always been a rebel in my life. When I feel like that there's something that is not right, I'll be the one that is voicing out.
Right.
I'll be the one that is saying, okay, no, this is not something that is right to do. And I always felt like I possess a lot of leadership, and I also feel like a lot of people helped me throughout my life, and this would be one great helpful platform for me to come out and help people that is struggling and all that. So that was the one that actually inspired me to come and join MPP and do something good for the people.
Right.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Nahvin, when you said you are a rebel, and you've been MPP for 2 semesters now, right?
Right.
So in these 2 semesters during your term, in what aspects have you been a rebel? Have you fought for students? Have you went against the management? In what aspect?
I would say let's start off with eating. Right. Let's start off with food. I believe that me personally is a vegetarian, and there are a lot of organizations that is providing vegetarian food within UTeM themselves. So, but then they are not a catering. I mean, they are not under UTeM. They are outsiders who is coming and delivering food.
Right.
And if you really think about it, it's not the way how it's supposed to be, where some people, maybe like me, I have my own preferences. Maybe some other people have their own medical conditions.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, they have to pay extra so that the other people can come in and then deliver the food and etc. etc. So maybe they are not from a wealthy background, but because of the medical conditions or whatever, they have to eat specific vegetarian food. So it is something that I really fought for, and I think the work is there. According to what management is saying, they wanted to make a separate cafeteria or a separate stall just for the vegetarians and all the vegetarian food. So that's something that I personally have fought for. Apart from that, in terms of bus scheduling, we receive, since I'm the NYDP 3, I also cover the media. So I get a lot of complaints from students in our IG MPP,
right.
And when we get all the complaints, I usually format it all together, and then I'll wash it down in my Majlis Tertinggi or the High Com, and then moving forward from there, and I'll compile all the issues together, saying why this thing's happening and all the solutions together. So it is something that is being implemented at the moment right now, and we should be able to see changes happening quite soon.
Well, let's hope we actually see changes.
Yeah.
So, Nahvin, you said that you've voiced out about quite a few things, alright? So, when you voice out about these things, are there some things that you actually voiced out, but most of your MPP colleagues, I may call them colleagues, don't agree, or they actually go against you?
I think every organization is like that. You know, we do, even though our goal is same, we wouldn't necessarily have same kind of thought or same kind of perception towards certain thing. So it diversify over different people, right? We have roughly 27 people in our organization, and everybody has their own opinion and all have their own backgrounds. So definitely we do not have the same opinion, and sometimes the way they perceive things is very restrictive just within UTeM themselves. Sometimes I raise up problems that involves all the Malaysian students, and maybe they don't see the problem happening in UTeM, and they don't want to fight for it. So most of the time it's one versus all, and we have to follow the majority, no matter, even if I'm wrong, even if I'm right, we cannot go with me, because it's the voice of the majority that we need to listen, because we move as a body and we all decide together. So there have been times where I say I've given out a lot of input, which we should have fought for, but not, since not everybody is agreeing with that, I unfortunately have to agree with the majority and go with the flow.
I see. So if all these UTeM students would actually agree with me when we say that, yeah, there are some things that are flawed in some aspects throughout the MPP terms. It doesn't matter whether it's the last MPP term or this MPP, this batch, your batch. But there's one problem that is always there and always bothers students, no matter who are the MPP. And that is the shuttle bus or the bus during ops pulang. So why is that? Why is there always the problem where there's not enough bus, or the bus isn't coming on time, or the bus isn't obeying the schedule that is distributed through social media by MPP?
Again, as you have said just now, we are the distributors of information. We are not the person in charge of the bus and all that. We have a separate department called BAK, Bagian Asset dan Kenderaan. They're the one that is handling all the buses and transportation and all that. So if you talk about bus scheduling and all that, we just distributing. Like I said, we just distributing. So when students are complaining, we get to know, okay, so problems like this happen, then the bus drivers are not coming on time and all that. So what we have done multiple times is to raise out the same issues and same concern, and we usually go by, in any organization and all that, we usually go by a few warnings, right, before we take the further action. So we are still in the warning stage where we let the people know that they're not following the time. So please make sure all the employees and all the bus drivers are actually following the time. So I believe if one more time is broken, I think we will go directly and even do something even further.
But since this thing has been happening not only in your term, right? So I can understand that since your term is just this past 2 semesters, you feel like the warning stage is during your term. This thing has been going on since the previous term MPPs. Don't you think those MPPs have already given the warning? Don't you think your MPP batch has to be the ones to actually finally take action?
The difference is that we were the first term of MPs after a whole 2 years of MCO. When the previous MPP was there, they were battling against COVID and all that. So the use of transportation at the time was very limited, and there wasn't that much of a complaint that was happening at the time. Maybe before that they would have been. So now, since everything is restarting back, we are reviving back the campus life. So it is quite unfair for us to directly go and then say, no, you cannot do that. So rather than that, we would like to approach and tell, okay, so let's take this as a step back and see what is happening. We analyze the solution and all that. So all the times we have given our input saying that, okay, this is not on time. There's always has been some action that is taken. So maybe the drawbacks and limitations is from the MPP themselves. We do not react immediately because we want to collect data and show, and with statistics, okay, see, this many people are complaining, these are the problems and all that. So there would be a little bit of lag, but nonetheless everybody is trying to do something towards it and to fix it.
But there must be something, one factor that is actually like stopping you guys from actually going to the solution. What I mean is, you say you're already in your warning stage, right? You already gave like a few warnings, if I'm not mistaken. then what is actually the problem? Like, why is, despite the warnings given out by you guys, the problem is still being prolonged? What is the problem?
I wouldn't how to say, like, this not necessarily go down to the BAK themselves. Maybe it's the bus drivers' carefulness or carelessness. They are not aware of the bus timing and all that. So even if you notice, right, even wide across our whole nation, time is not properly managed. Sometimes they say this stuff, this specific time, not necessarily the specific time it happens, and it applies all over the nation. And I think we come into that whole effect, a phenomenon where time is not really managed or followed accordingly. So I think that is one of the problem that is happening. And also, if you talk about bus scheduling, obviously the bus schedule can be optimized even further, stating that, okay, maybe this time where the demand is high, we can do that and all that. And considering we are a technical university, we should have all the facilities to do all that. And me personally, from a faculty called FTMK, we doing bachelor courses in computer technologies and all that. And I believe we have the tools and technologies to definitely optimize all that. But it's just that all the technological solutions are not really acceptable, or it's not really acceptable by people in charge. So it's really hard for people like us who want to innovate and change out different things when they themselves don't want to accept.
So you're telling me that the MPP student voice, who all of the students believe have to voice out in behalf of the students to the management, even though you voice out, the management won't really consider what you are voicing out about?
I wouldn't say they wouldn't consider. It's just that, for instance, let me come to an example. So there was one time where there was a lot of issues with the postcard that was happening. So there are people saying that somebody like stopping them, and they were quite rude, and sometimes they stopped untimely and all that. So, and then the accessibility is like quite hard. They have to stop, and then there was a huge jam and all that. So we really took that into consideration, and then when we had a meeting, and then I personally have voiced out, why don't we replace the existing postcard system with completely autonomous systems where they just have to scan and then come in. So they were receptive of the idea. They want to implement that, but they say that if you want to implement such idea, it will take a lot of time to get all the paperwork done, to get all the approvals done. So, and I say, like, if that is the case, and then they say like this is not the first time somebody is suggesting an idea like this, then I ask why it is not like what is the progress now since the last time. Then they say like they dropped it off because the paperwork is long, the process is long, so they just stop. So to me that wasn't the way to go about. But I'm not the person.
Actually, the paperwork that you mentioned is actually has to be done by the MPP or the management?
No, it's like paperwork in terms of getting legal approval. Because this covers the security of the university, right? So there's a lot of multiple agencies that is involved. So they need to get a signature and approval from these people.
Mr. Nahvin, do you agree? Do you or do you not agree that despite how many batches of MPP, there will be a few, not the entire batch, but a few in a batch that actually become MPP and not really abide the manifesto, the ones that they had when they campaign?
I certainly believe that's gonna be true, unless we as voters within the campus themselves analyze everybody on a granular level. Like if you analyze what they are proposing, what are the manifestos and all that in a granular scale, I don't think such situation would exist. But because now our students, they maybe it's their own ignorance, or maybe it's the fault of the candidate themselves not publicizing them widely. They do not know what these particular candidates are providing or could be providing to the university or the students themselves. So they just, whenever they go, they just see this face and then they just do it. Whereas it shouldn't be how it is. They should see what this person is bringing to, to bring out the people's voice and all that. So I think a background study of who they are and all that need to be done. Not just like blindly listening to what they are saying. Because at the end of the day, people like go by manifesto it's not a kitab, right? They say.
So like you mentioned, students' ignorance and the candidates who don't publicize their campaign. Why is that happening? Why aren't the campaigning? Why are the students not getting to know who the candidates are? I don't believe that is fully students' ignorance. I believe it's not really the campaign moment, right? The candidates aren't really reaching. Like, even students who want to get to know who are the candidates don't really know 100% of the candidates because of the lack of reach. For example, we had our general election just a month ago. So people, that you cannot disagree that there are some people in Malaysia that don't really want to get to know about politics. But even though those kind of people actually know, okay, so this party has this MPs, right? This candidates. So that's the amount of publicity they had. We are, even though we are in the university, we don't really go for that extent. But why can't we get the campaigning scenario, right, reached to students? What's the main factor that's actually like stopping the promotion of candidates?
I would say it comes down to funding. You know, like if you see political parties outside, they are backed by big organization that is providing all the funding. But when it comes to PRK in a campus scale, there's not much to provide. So maybe some people are from like quite hefty background and they can provide the campaign and all that. But there are some people, like for instance like me, I don't think I can provide much in terms of promotion and all that. So mainly it comes down to the funding. And I think that's why even in campus also they allow to promote themselves as a party rather than just individual.
But why do you think funding is important? For what do you think funding is important when mostly promotions are done on social media? Mostly reach is better on social media rather than you having funds on printing posters and actually hanging everywhere in campus. Why do you think funding is more important?
The reason because even if you talk about social media, it's not necessarily you just do it for free and then it goes by. A lot of ads we see are really sponsored. If you want the reach, you have to pay. That's the golden rule. So even if I'm gonna make a video of me talking about what I'm gonna do for the next 5 years, if let's say I become the Prime Minister, nobody would want to watch unless if I have a big following or promote my content. So no matter what, I still have to pay. So that's where the funding parts come in. Even though it heavily relies on social media, there's still a lot of business that is happening behind that we tend to forget or not to see.
So once the students, actually the ones that vote, actually have done voting, how do you guys MPPs actually get to know, okay, who's the YDP, who's the NYDP, and all the posting? What's the process that goes behind that?
Funny you ask me now because we're gonna end our term soon, and there are gonna be a new batch of MPP that's gonna come our way. Well, the time how we did it is that once we got announced that we are the ones that won, we had a meeting with CEC, Campus Election Committee, and we appointed 4 of the top HiCom of MPP. And once that 4, including YDP and TYDP, SU and also Bandahari. So once this 4 has been appointed, then we had our own separate meeting to like pick out the remaining. So that's how we did it.
So usually students don't really have the power to actually like choose who might be the YDP, who might be the NYDP. That's not how it works.
No, that's not how it works. But we have a rule that goes by like all the ICOM must be competing as calon umum. So they cannot be a faculty candidate. They must be calon umum.
Okay, so Mr. Nahvin, I have this one question that I guess most students, I guess even UTeMims would actually have been asking. Why are MPPs named as student representative, but then most of the time you just go with the flow, with the management, not voicing out what students' concerns are in general?
I would say, first of all, I'm a big fan of UTeMims. I like what they're doing. Because even though maybe they are bashing me as an organization, I think that is something that is very much necessary,
Right.
because they are the balance and check for us. If you're doing something that is not proper or right, they are the one that is correcting us to put in a right way. So definitely huge kudos to UTeM memes to helping out to maintain who we are and how we're supposed to be. So coming back to what you asked, like why are we not doing well? Not everything is published online. Some stuff is not really we putting out. Some stuff we do have meetings. I mean, when you become an MPP, I don't think you would have very much of free time. It's very rare you get a free time if you're really genuine about what you're doing. So we have meetings almost not almost every week. We'll have at least one or two at minimum, and there will be work done prior to the meeting themselves. So it's quite funny, like how not all the stuff are published. So people just randomly assume, okay, you're not doing anything, you're not doing this and all that. And we as MPP, like since our term is going to end, we actually plan to release out whatever we have achieved through our posters and all that. By the time we're going to end our term, that should be out as well, so we can see what we've actually achieved and all that. So in terms of representing voice, right, I can talk for myself that no matter what, I've always voiced out what student wanted. I'm being genuine to my heart, and that's the main reason why I actually wanted to join MPP themselves.
I see.
Why? Because I wanted to represent the student. I wanted to bring the voice when it is the least heard. I want to be the most heard. So I personally can talk for myself that I never ever neglected my responsibility to never voice out the voices of the students. So maybe there were instances, like I previously mentioned, I had to follow the majority, even though what I could be fighting for is right. I still have to follow the organization and follow with them. So yeah, that's how it is. But that doesn't mean that some might be quite outrageous that is happening, and those are things that I came out of MPP and voiced out individually, and some have to follow with the flow.
So, Mr. Nahvin, if I ask you to list out, you don't have to list out their names, but maybe just their title, or not even title, but their designated, well, technically title, like ESCO and stuff like that. 5 of your MPP colleagues who you think is the best at doing their job so far.
I would say I would go for number 1, ESCO Academic.
Yeah.
I think they have done a very good job, especially my colleague Mila. She's done a very good job in terms of managing the academic stuff and all that, all the problems regarding to academics and all that. She has done a very good job, contacting all the faculties, organizing this, organizing that, and I really see her enthusiasm in dealing with that. Second, I would give it to penempatan dan facility. So they are the ones that is, to be honest, they are the one that was mostly very, very busy, because they are the one that is dealing all the college kediaman and also the buses and transportation, all the facilities there. So any problem, they're the one that is getting backlash and all that. So they also had a wonderful job, like dealing with this, all the paperwork and all that, all the ops pulang and all that. They were the ones that is organizing all that. Number 3, I would go and give it to Exco Penerangan dan Informasi, which is one of the Exco under me. They're the one that is in charge of media and all that. Maybe the quality of the media work maybe not up to the standard, but we are doing a lot. So sometimes the time constraint is like by 2 p.m. we need to get it done, where we receive the message like 1 p.m. So that's just 1 hour for us to get done. I need to find people and go there, cover this, cover that. So I would say them. And then I would say Exco Pembangunan Mahasiswa dan Kemanusiaan. They are the one that is managing the club and all that. Then as far as I'm concerned, there's no issues with clubs. They are the ones that is managing the PPP, like the how they are managing the conference rooms and all that. So and all the welfares of the club themselves, so they are the ones that they are managing. And last, and for the last one, I would say this is quite tough to pick now.
Because the catchy questions will come after this.
I would say I'll just keep it to the top 4.
To the top 4.
Yeah.
Okay, so why do you pick these 4 people specifically? What happened to the others? Are you hinting that the others, most of them didn't really do the job they are supposed to do, or didn't really go up to the standard?
Again, it comes down to the job scope of the exco themselves, right? So sometimes, or not all exco gets the same amount of work. Sometimes the work is more, let's say, like academic, and the penempatan facility, that definitely there's more work there. My other excos might not have the same amount of work.
Right.
So the difference of, I'm judging based on the quality of work and the amount of work they have done. So to me, these are the ones that actually have done quite a lot of work, which I'm very satisfied with. So that's why they are there, and these people are not there.
I see. So you're saying that everybody is doing their work, but the amount of work, the workload that they have to go through, and the lack of productivity to actually achieve that. So what you're hinting is that everybody in your MPP batch are doing their job properly. There are nobody who actually slack off.
I wouldn't say so. I would say this is my personal opinion towards how MPP is right now.
Right.
I mean, we can definitely improve a lot. We're gonna end our term soon, but if we were to give another opportunity, I think there's a lot of things that we can definitely improve a lot. Mainly it comes down to the factor that we come in a time where we didn't know what we wanted to do. So, and then a lot of things were thrown at us because, like I said, we were the ones that was after MCO and all that. So a lot of things were thrown at us, like we wanted to revive all the different things. So it was quite hard on us, and a lot of people, it tested a lot of people. You know, their qualifications, their patience, their efforts, and all that. It tested a lot, and I believe maybe some people have given up. You know, I mean, I cannot go and lie around that everybody give the 100% commitment.
But if they give up, like you already say, you are standing. We even have an election, student representative, students' voice. Isn't not giving up one of the golden quality that you have to have? Isn't problems, right? A lot of problems, you said. Isn't that what you must expect? Okay, so I'm going to be a student representative. I'm going to face all of these problems. The one thing that I should do is stand still, not give up, keep doing what I have to do. Isn't that the golden trait that every MPP that has been in the election, that has won the election, have to have in themselves?
Indeed, that should be the way to be. But
then I guess giving up isn't really a justifiable term.
Indeed, but again, we come back to the status or the situation where how we got elected. If you go back to a few years, I think 1 year back, that was the time where we all nominated to be the candidates. And if you notice and go back I think there would be one page called CEC UTeM or PRK UTeM, I do not know, but if you go, you can see all the one that is campaigning and becoming a candidate. So if you notice, a lot of faculty are sending a lot of candidates there, but there were faculties that is only sending 3 candidates. There are some faculties that only send 1 or 2. So those who only send 3 and below won without any competition. So there were no any elimination that was done to pick the best of the best.
I see.
So people didn't want to volunteer themselves to become MPP, and those who volunteered themselves, maybe not up to the standard, or not really wanted to do what they're supposed to do. And the first time I went and I met all my MPP, I had a session, and then I asked around, asking why you all joined MPP. And it surprised me when the answers, most of them said that they wanted to explore and get experience. Those who really wanted to join in MPP is not a place for us to gain experience.
That's right.
It is a place for you to apply whatever you learn and to get better and bring out the voice.
Have you met those in your batch that actually said that, okay, I just want it to look good in my resume once I actually went out of university?
No, not like that. But what I've heard, this is something along the line, they wanted to get experience. So not necessarily to be put on the resume, but they wanted to gain something for themselves, not for the people.
Got it. So how I see it is why I ask those questions is because every club, including MPP, is like a boat. So like a boat, if you have any flaw, like I said, any members who don't really do their job, I believe that it will sink. Don't you think that's true?
Indeed, it is very much true. But I would say the best thing about us and our team is that no matter what happens, we just fight through. There were like maybe there were a certain number of people that not really contributing or committing as much as they should be, but nonetheless, those who are there and really committed is very powerful than all of us combined.
Are there any actions taken against the ones in the MPP, the ones that actually not doing their job they are supposed to do? Because what I can see is this from me personally. What I can see is people who don't do their jobs, right, are causing more trouble for the people, for their colleagues, right? Would you agree?
I completely agree with you. And unfortunately, there was no any rule or any akta that was published in any of the AUKU that we following by. So we cannot necessarily take any action. But when we had our last meeting, I proposed this one solution that could be possibly solving all this problem. So one of the major thing is that attendance of meetings. So like if you notice how our Malaysian government works, they publicize how many times a particular MP has attended parliament.
Yes.
So we would like to do the same stuff. So every meeting we would want to make a post in our Instagram, and then maybe probably the last slide we will acknowledge, okay, these people attended, these people didn't attend, and there will be a counter. So from there on you would know whether these people is attending or no. So whether they know the quality of the MPP themselves. Number two is access to money. Because we get to do a lot of different events and all that.
Right.
So if you're not up to the standard, you're not doing the job properly, you will be cut down on the budget. So you cannot do any good events you want to do, and etc. etc. So these were along the lines where I stated it as a penalty system, where people not contributing anything, they should be penalized. So that is not yet to be implemented, but I would hope that the future MPPs themselves do apply something like this so that they can prevent themselves to not go through what we have gone through.
So stay tuned. We will be back after this very short break.